All right, welcome to the IAG Thursday thing, the thing that we do every Thursday where we hang out on Thursday and talk about things. Last week was PRI. Lots of stuff happened at PRI. There was some interesting, large scope ramification stuff that went down with some tuning options. We definitely want to talk about that right out of the gate. But today, it's very rare that I'm in the office and I get to hang out with people. And one of my favorite people to hang out with is Dylan. Dylan is going to be on the show today, and we're going to, I kind of want to talk to him because we got a really sweet championship trophy at PRI. I want to talk to him about this season kind of from his eyes. And I think it'll be entertaining having to hear what it's like to deal with somebody like me. From his point of view, and some of the scarier stuff that we had go on, things that we had to deal with, the nightmares, like Midwest Fest, all of that, getting me to vomit. It'll be great. But first thing we got to talk about is news, because there was some massive stuff that happened. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, and I'm very surprised has flown under the radar as hard as it has. But Link ECU has been making some big moves. I personally don't run Link. We don't even sell Link here, but it's probably going to change here real soon. I can tell you that. Link now makes a plug-and-play ECU for the GT86. So this is the first-gen BRZ. Now, why does this matter? Well, it is a very reasonably priced. They didn't give me an actual MSRP, but it's probably going to be right around $2,000 from what I'm hearing. But that'll control port injection, direct injection. All of it just plugs in. You don't have to get a wiring harness, anything crazy. It literally plugs into your stock wiring harness to switch over to a Link and give you proper standalone functions. Why is this such a big deal? Well, now, for the first time ever, there is an ECU that can plug and play, and you can run direct injection and port injection without any craziness. This is something that didn't exist south of a Motec up until very recently. M-Tron, I think, is also messing around with this. M-Tron is a little more high-end ECU. It's really not for everybody. But if we're talking $2,000, that's the price of a Cobb and a flex fuel, kit. And that pops you, that's killer. It's absolutely nuts. So I had some more conversations with them, and I'm like, well, I mean, since it's power and direct injection, how far are you guys out from doing VAWRX stuff? So this is all your FA20s that don't have port injection. And the answer was very, very soon. This is huge. If you have the ability to be able to drop one of these in, this has even got huge implications for swapping vehicles. You want to do an FA20 or an FA24 swap to a GC or something, you're going to have the option to do that in a pretty reasonably priced ECU now. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty massive for the future of FA tuning. I think Link could really take over as like the thing to go to for a tuning solution for a lot of people. Now understand, there are downsides to going to this, and it's your OBD2 port no longer works. If you've got to pass emissions, anything like that, if this car has to remain emissions compliant for whatever you are doing, I don't want to hear about it. But this won't work for you. This is not an option for you. But those of you who don't, those of you who are building race cars, things of that nature, this is going to be insane. This is going to change everything. So, doesn't seem like big news, but it is massive. It's massive for the community. So definitely, I wanted to make sure you guys heard it here first, because it's a very big deal. It would be hard to do that swap for, there's ways you can get around that. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. There's things I can and can't talk about. Stop trying to get me in trouble. the chat's just doing all sorts of stuff right now. We can't. The other thing that happened to PRI is, well, they handed us a big ass #1 trophy for the season. You know how cool it was to walk around with that trophy?
Yeah, I mean, it had to be pretty sweet.
It was sick. I am so bummed you weren't there.
Yeah, things happen.
But it was, you had a lot going on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. There's just a lot of crazy things happening. Being able to walk around with this big-ass #1 trophy, and people you don't even know, because you're walking around with a trophy that says #1 on it, big-ass gold thing. People you don't know have nothing to do. They're looking over and going, pointing at you like, yeah, boy. Like, you have no idea who they are, but they're just like, that's a #1 trophy. That guy won some shit. Like, he's doing some shit. Like, you ever want to get attention? Just go make yourself a #1 trophy and walk around PRI. You can probably get whatever you want.
That's true. That's true.
It's true. Be shady, but it's very true. So, yeah, dude, it was crazy. It was actually, I was kind of bummed they did the trophy ceremony there instead of somewhere else. But the cool thing is it did give them time to get names on the trophies.
Yeah, which was, honestly, that's pretty sweet to see your name on it.
I don't think I've ever got a trophy with my name on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. So, like, they could put names on the trophies, and they spent some time and actually made a nice trophy. I got second in the championship once, and they handed me a license plate. Like, everybody got the same gold license plate. It was the same one they sell for $10. That was really disheartening. You kill yourself for a whole season to get handed that. That was a bummer. And then the year before that, I think they handed out customized steering wheels to everybody. So I was like thinking, sweet, I'm going to get like a badass steering wheel or something to put on my wall. Gold license plate.
Yeah. I was really hoping that it was some kind of cup.
Yeah, so you could drink out of it?
Yeah, I really wanted to drink out of it, but we have 3D printers, and I can probably figure out a way to attach a cup to it.
That's true. So this phantom voice you're hearing next to me, this is Dylan. Dylan is basically the crew chief for the time attack program. Dylan, when we're at the track, is basically my boss.
I mean, that's an interesting way to put it.
I'm going to listen to whatever the hell you say.
Yeah.
And you actually have the final say on pretty much everything. What I'm doing is one thing, but you're the one who's kind of making the decisions.
Yeah, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
This is your first year doing race things, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not your first year working on cars.
No,
it's not your first year, like, racing with other things, but, like, this is your first, like, racing campaign.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So this would be my first year really kind of in the saddle of going out on a whole season. Or what we really had was kind of a half season. We showed up at I showed up at Midwest Fest with you. And even that was, I showed up the second day.
Yeah.
And bad things already happened.
So let's talk about you getting to that point. So I went to the first event.
Rev
Up.
Yep.
And this was on the old turbo kit.
New engine.
Old aero.
Yep.
New engine that was doing some kind of funny stuff. Old tires.
Mm-hmm.
And suspension that had just recently been rebuilt by my favorite suspension company, but unfortunately, you have struts all the way around on an older Subaru. It's very easy to get these spring rates mixed up, and we had the wrong spring rates in the rear versus the front, so my springs were reversed. The car was terrible. And so without Dylan, I did manage to go out there and get second, but that was also through 2 engine fires, melting a tie rod down, like melting the inner tie rod right out of the car. And then it was bad. So that was Gingerman 1. Then there was a couple weeks in between Midwest Fest, which was Gingerman 2.
Correct.
And then you couldn't make it the first day because you're coming all the way from Maryland, but you got there for the second day.
So initially, it really wasn't a major plan for us to come up and support you.
Yeah.
It was kind of, Ian and I had tossed around the idea of going to Midwest Fest because we hadn't been before. And you were there, so we wanted to come hang out and party.
Yeah.
And so
that's how I sold it to him. I'm just like, hey guys, it should be real chill. Come on out, party through a Gridlife spot. You have a great time. And he's like, yeah, bro, that sounds great.
So Ian and I didn't leave the area until let's see, like 5 o'clock on Friday. So your day of racing had already been done.
Yeah.
And we drove through the night.
Now I need to preface this. My day of racing wasn't done. My day of work had just started. I sent him a picture
of a pinhole
in
the radiator.
Correct, in the radiator.
Like a small one. And I was like, oh, easy enough. Like a little pinch it off, a little bit of JB weld, no big deal. Like we'll continue with our day. Go ahead and fix the other stuff. And then we were like halfway there. And you texted me and said, don't even bother coming now. And it followed with a picture, and the hole had progressed to not its final form, but much larger than a
I'd like to call it a shotgun wound.
The final form, sure.
Yeah, okay. So this was more like a rifle wound.
Yeah, it was an in-between. What it looked like is you had attempt to fix it with either soldering wire and a torch or TIG wire and a torch.
What we tried to do was what was referred to as brazing.
Yeah.
We were going to try to braze the whole. This was dumb. Now I want you to understand what I am telling you to do. Do not do this ever. But the idea was to braze the hole shut, and it didn't grab onto it. So it just made a puddle of shit that melted right through it.
Correct.
So we had this like rock hard puddle of aluminum that we then had to cut out. And that's where the rifle wound came from.
Yeah. So I just saw the puddle, and I said, well, we're still on our way. We'll make the best of it. And Ian and I got to Gingerman at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yes.
And the security, obviously, we were both sleeping in your camper. And we were very tired. Ian had been up for like 30-something hours at this point. We're both super tired, and the security guy wouldn't let us in.
Yeah.
And so
anybody who knows anything about Gridlife knows that the security can be, at least Gridlife Midwest, security can be kind of tight. And this year they actually hired a third-party security company to make sure nobody got in except him.
So I was like, hey, man, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just going to go park my car in the grass right over there and sleep. And they threatened to call the cops on us. And so we just turned the headlights off and drove through the field.
Yep.
And we made it in, and it was like, we obviously would find you. I didn't want to wake you. And so by the time we found you, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen the final form of the radiator yet. And while you were sleeping, I just walked in the trailer, and the radiator was on two sawhorses, basically.
Yep.
And I saw what had transpired to be a shotgun wound to your radiator. And what I mean by this is I could almost fit 4 of my fingers through the radiator.
People don't understand how bad that radiator was.
No, it was horrible.
And then before you go, well, why didn't you just go get some like AutoZone radiator or something to throw in it? I can't, because that radiator was a particular size to fit in a particular spot.
And the hoses you have aren't even OEM.
No, it's all AN.
Yeah. So it really, what happened was, so we'll get back on the story.
Yeah.
I got about an hour of sleep that morning. I went and set up a hammock in the woods and got about an hour of sleep, and came back over about 7:30. And your plan was to put a different radiator in it, but it wasn't going to fit. So Court had addressed the tie rod and kind of stuff like that, and we basically,
Court's a boss, man.
Oh man, yeah. Yep. We basically we tagged him out. He was exhausted. We tapped him out and let him do his thing. And I honestly don't know where I got the idea to just try to JB weld the whole thing. But I decided that I was going to clean it up with some sandpaper and we got a heat gun, and I managed to get this hole, and I mean hole, sealed up, and we made it just in time for the last round of qualifying, which you had also rebuilt your splitter, or I don't know why there wasn't front splitter rods.
So what happened? What happened was I just built the splitter, and it honestly was, for a plywood splitter, was a work of art, and it was working flawlessly. When I had that car on the track, I don't think I'd ever been happier with that car up until that point, ever. We made a lot of changes between Gingerman 1 and 2.
Yes.
We went to completely different spring rate, rebuilt the splitter, changed a bunch of shit on the... You forget the up pipe was leaking too. Mm-hmm. So the up pipe was a disaster. The up pipe, I kept having this up pipe gasket would fail, and that's what was catching stuff on fire.
It was the V-band, so the V-band would fail because it...
Well, before it wasn't a V-band.
Right.
Before, this was the attempted fix.
Yeah, so it was a twin scroll setup with 2 V-bands, and what was happening was, between age and there was a lot of, come to find out, there's a lot of back pressure in the exhaust system. And that was the big reason why we changed turbos and changed, the whole turbo kit, was the amount of back pressure. And so it was actually breaking the clamp via heat and expansion.
Yes.
And just blowing over and actually just creating your exhaust was just blowing fire everywhere.
Yeah, so that's what was melting out the inner tie rod end and all sorts of stuff.
So again, we went out for that qualifying. It was the last qualifying to get into podium sprint.
Well, hold on. You were asking, why wasn't there a splitter on the car?
No, splitter rods.
Again, I'm going to just throw this out there. We made this brand new gorgeous splitter with really thick plywood.
Yeah.
And we thought it was going to be fine because I even stood on it, but it literally broke the front.
So, yeah, exactly.
So it was doing exactly what they're showing, the Hungry Hippo thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was going as I'm flying down the straightaway. I didn't even realize.
No, you had no idea.
I figured it out after it started really getting hard.
Yeah.
And then we had to add splitter rods.
Your qualifying lap was with the splitter literally just get smacked. It wasn't doing anything, and I'm surprised it didn't snap.
I'm blown away it didn't.
So we got back in, we qualified middle of the pack?
Something like that.
And we ran a 134. We needed a 136.0 to get in.
Yeah.
So we were like middle of the pack or something. And so we got the car back. We had about an hour to get things squared away. The radiator was just barely weeping a little bit. And this was our shot to go back. I mean, we were in podium sprint. And again, here I am, like, you
hardly know me. And you're just like, what the hell
is happening?
There were other teams there giving you the, good luck with Hurricane Dewey over there. Yeah. Because that's what it usually looks like in our pits.
Yeah, and it was.
It was bad.
And so we yanked the radiator back out. We fixed the front splitter. It was a whole team effort. I mean, it was me, Ian, you, Court. I think
Bailey was involved with it. We had a few guys around there helping out.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Abbott guys were over there helping.
The Abbott guys were helping. And it was like this huge team effort to get your car back on track for podium sprint. And I almost don't even remember. Oh, you were sitting in grid getting ready to go out, and it was like T-minus 30 seconds before you left.
Yeah.
And I just looked at you. I said, well, hell, at this point, go have fun.
Yep.
And you managed to pull off the win there. So that was pretty exciting. And we still had, once you came in, we had a smoking time, but we still had 2 competitors.
Yeah, the 2 fastest guys
still had to go.
A lot of people don't realize is Mike Omick actually ran the fastest time that week.
Oh, yeah.
So our advantage came from it was getting really hot.
It was hot as
hell. And it was...
The drifters had been going at it all day.
So the track was crap. And I got to be real, I'm used to driving a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, like, the car went from feeling amazing, and I don't know how to extract the time out of it, to the car feeling like a bag of shit because the track is in the toilet, to something I was more comfortable with.
Yeah. You came around, like, turn 2 just completely...
Yeah, just hair on fire, yeah.
So that was... we sat there and waited to see if anyone went faster than us, and I didn't really. Well, I wasn't expecting us to win.
Oh, I wasn't here.
And that was the weekend I had to do the shoey because I had told you before I had No, I told you the morning when I was looking at your radiator,
Yeah.
you're finally awake. And I'm like, dude, if you manage to pull this off, like, I will drink a beer out of your shoe.
Yeah.
And and so I head on up to that, and that was a great first experience between us, and
that kicked off the season. In all reality, that's where this all started, because at that point we're like, well, holy shit, we could get this thing fixed and really do something. Give me a quick sec, I'll read that. Yeah. So either way, yeah, Mike's trans did die. They put another trans in there. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that didn't help Mike's situation. Okay, because he was on something different gearing, and I don't know. Mike, people don't realize Mike, in the end of the weekend, actually had a faster time than I did. It's just I ran the fastest time in podium sprint.
Yeah.
So
that really kicked off everything. You
got to talk about the East Coast tour.
So this was your idea. We brought the car back to IAG in Maryland, and now we're looking at something that was hypothetical. It was, I don't really understand why I thought after just winning one race that we could just go continue to win races.
Because I told you we could do it.
Yeah.
So no, wait, I'm telling you, Dylan believed in the cause earlier. At least he bought into. I sold it to him hard. I'm like, dude, I think we can do this.
So we got the car back to IAG.
We got to talk about something real fast. Okay. So while I was at Midwest Fest, we had to make a decision. It's either we had Brofab Bronson. He's like, look, I can weld your up pipe shut, but it's coming off of the Sawzall. And so we had to make the decision, is this the end of this header? I called up ETS, and I've been working with ETS for years. And ETS said, yes, we'd be willing to help you make a header that would clear your dry sump. And that's the reason I stuck with that. Because of them, we were able to weld that shut and have a header that functions. Yeah, and I just want to make sure that they're like, because
the car ride up for me, when we were going up there, you kept telling me all these issues, and we'd known about the issues from Rev Up.
Yeah.
And so I said, dude, you got to call ETS or something. Like, we need a different header. We need to look at back pressure. We need to figure out some things. And so that's where that stemmed from.
I straight up called them up hat in hand. But how fast they got that turbo kit turned around between right after Midwest, and they got it to us before Jersey.
Yes. Yeah. It was a time crunch. We sent them a dry sump pump, the mock-up, and it made things quite interesting. The header sat so much lower.
Yes.
So the splitter, I actually had to cut a hole in the splitter, and this is the permanent design there's a hole in the splitter with aluminum plate on the bottom. So the clearance of the thickness of the Alumilite, which isn't much, is enough to clear the header, and obviously wrapping it and everything.
It's so close.
Oh, it's super close.
It's so close.
So we got the car back from Midwest Fest back to Maryland, and I came up with this idea that I pitched to Dewey. I said, listen, this is what we need to do. We need to not tell anybody, but we need to show up to New Jersey and just run on the new turbo setup and see if we can pull off a win. We didn't know who was going to be there, how many people were going to be there. And I asked you, I said, I gave you options. I said, what tracks are you most comfortable at? What, if you had to win the next 4 events, what tracks would you want to do it at? And New Jersey popped up, and I was like, all right, well, that's the next one. Let's shoot for that. Go there, do our thing, and see if we can at least pull off a podium or something. And we weren't even like the championship at that point in time was a glimmer of hope.
We were also looking at that as a shakedown for the new turbo. We got the new Garrett got us at G35 1050, and we had a lot of new stuff, a lot of different approaches to things.
Right. So New Jersey was supposed to be the shakedown for mid Ohio.
Yeah.
And so we showed up last minute to New Jersey, got there, got set up, and that was
poor Nick Kors. I swear to God, we showed up there because Nick, I think, thought he was trying to pull the same thing.
Oh yeah,
totally trying to pull the same thing because that event has only been around 2 years and it didn't have a lot of people at it last year.
Yeah,
and this year actually had less, so it was a pretty light event.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
when I came up and tapped Nick on the shoulder, and he turned around, you swear to God, he saw death.
Yeah, and he that was it.
He kept us honest as shit.
He did. That was a very interesting weekend. Off the trailer, we went fast, and so off the trailer, we shook everything down again when we got back from the first run.
We learned a lot about how our team needs to operate that weekend.
Yes,
we almost screwed ourselves on multiple occasions.
Correct. And so we went fast, and I looked at Dewey on the second session, and no one was close to us, and it was kind of getting warm out. And I was like, well, that's probably going to be the day anyone going faster than us. And this is the first day.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it, I said, well, go play. I said, where can you find time? He said, well, turn 3's been giving me struggle. I said, well, go play around turn 3. Let's see what we can do. And take it easy on the car. And that's where the photo of you all four in the air.
That's when Clibbins happened.
Yeah. And
I went and mowed a lawn hardcore.
Luckily, the splitters, nothing broke.
Dude, how fast and hard I went off. I cannot believe we didn't break anything.
I'm still shocked.
We mowed the shit out of that lawn.
I think I took the front bumper back off. We went over the car. We went completely over the car. Because that was the other thing at Midwest Fest is Ian got the good idea to just start touching suspension parts while I was, screwing with the radiator.
And everything was a disaster.
Oh, yeah, everything was a disaster. So, I had just aligned the car here before the event. So we started checking everything after you went airborne, and we didn't find a single thing broken. And so we got the leaf blower out, cleaned all the clip-ins off. Kind of got the car ready again and went out and tried some other things. At the end of the day, we walked the track, and so the next morning came around.
But we skipped a session.
Yeah, we went to lunch.
Remember? We went to lunch. We skipped a session, and I
never do.
I never do that, and we skipped a session, and in my brain, I'm like, I fucked that corner up. I'm not ever going to figure this out.
Yeah. So we went to lunch, and Foster was there with his car. And Foster called me. We were in the middle of eating. Foster said, I went off track. I wrecked my car. And so we immediately got our tabs and boogied back over the track. And I mean, he caught the tire wall a little bit, but I think he needed that a little bit.
I think he became a better driver after now he's not worried about bumping the wall. And we went to town with some hammers and got his shit together. And
we started bending shit back in place.
That's when Foster got in the pocket.
It is. I mean, he got in the pocket, and I looked at him. I said, "Well, how bad do you want to race?"
Yeah,
And so we got the hammers and the pry bars out and fixed some things and got him back, okay, and a lot of tape. And he went out the next day and had a great time. And so the next morning,
went faster. Next session went faster.
Oh, yeah.
I was super impressed with him. It's not an easy thing to get over. Don't worry about that. You keep talking.
So the next morning we went out. Our plan was to go very fast in the morning.
Yeah,
because it was the only cool. It was gonna get hot. It got hot.
It was that day. Hot. It was hot the day before, but we knew it was coming
hotter.
Yeah,
it got hot fast. So the first session we ran a 1:24.6.
Jeez, you remember times better than I do.
Oh man, I'm time guy. So we ran a 1:24.6. And all the drivers got pulled in at 10 a.m. because everyone kept going off.
Everybody was going off.
There were 2 accidents, and so we had a safety meeting, and we were, I think we were a little cocky because we were like, well, no one's coming close to us, and so we thought pretty much everyone was done towards that. There's 2 sessions left of the day,
and they were even saying I think we're going to pack up and head home.
Yeah.
They were playing the game.
Well, we showed up unannounced, so
we did, but they were playing hard. That was half the fun,
Oh, it was great.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. And so Nick, we caught Nick getting ready to go out, and we're like, wait, I think he had said something about turning in his transponder too.
Yes.
And so we're like, wait, is he going out? And he was probably the closest to us. And I was like, oh, man, he is. And so I was like, well, let's get the car lined up. I want to let's not sit in grid.
We didn't want to go out to grid, so we went sat out in the dirt kind of near it.
Yeah.
And just we'll see if they beat the time or not. And if they do, we'll go out. We'll just be prepared to go, but nobody's going to get near that time. So I'm like, why? That's I have no intentions of going out. And Dylan's like, well, if I start screaming, go, 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 you need to dive in that car and haul ass.
So
I'm like, whatever. nothing's happening.
I'm standing at the top of the tower, and I'm watching. At the top of the tower, you can almost just see about the whole entire track.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Nick, and he's moving, and he's at the front of the pack, and the only way I could judge it was how far ahead he was gaining in from the guy behind him.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, he's moving fast.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my phone looking for the time he comes across the front straight, and it was a tenth faster than us.
Nick gained like 2 seconds.
It was more than 2 seconds.
It was
from his fastest
massive.
time.
So he drove the shit out of that lap, and two, he definitely turned out.
It was like 94 degrees.
It was fucking hot.
It was so hot. And so I just started yelling from the top of the tower to send.
I'm not even in the car. I don't have a helmet on or nothing. Like, go, go, go. And I'm like, is he saying go? There's no way.
I had enough time to run down the tower to where you still hadn't gone out yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, you need to just go. And you're like, how much faster do you go? I said, faster than you. Just get in your car and up and go.
Yeah.
And so we did. And I'm walking back over the tent to get the fans. We have fans set up to blow in the front of the car to cool down temps when you come in.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to get those set up. Like, my brain's just going like post race. Like, we're gonna have to go back out. We're still on low boost.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, we're gonna have to go over the car. Like, it's now a battle, because I didn't think honestly we would beat him.
I didn't think we were gonna have.
We hit that time first thing Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And it was cool. And now it's 90, 92, 94 degrees. And so Nick came in, and on my way walking over, Nick asked me if he went out. And I was like, oh yeah, he's out. And he's like, all right. And they pulled in their pit, and I got to give it to him. Like, that was
a banging lap.
Yeah, it was fast.
Nick gets a lot of credit. That thing's front wheel drive. He's in just a big turbo Civic.
Oh, I know.
And heat
Oh,
screws him leaving corners.
Yeah. So you come across a tenth faster than him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was emotional. I was like, holy, like.
Dude, they were going nuts because they thought they beat us.
Well, they did.
And then it was like we pulled their souls out of their body.
And so we came back to the pit, and I was like, we learned a lot that weekend.
Yeah.
We got the car back off the ground, started shaking everything down, started looking over everything, rotated tires. I think I got you to get logs to Graham so that we can see if we can turn it up. Like, I wanted to turn it up. I was like, I just need a scotch more.
Yep.
We're cooling down temps. We're getting ready to go. I'm like telling you, like, hey, stay in the mindset. Just go over where you drove, and we got to go back out. And then so we were ready to go back out, and we walked over and talked to Nick, and Nick was putting his car in the trailer, and he was like, "No, we're actually
done now."
And I believed him. I was like,
"No." I was waiting. I'm like,
I was like, "Where's the strap? Like,
yeah,
the strap.
Where's the transponder? Like, because we were ready to go. Like, and we did actually put the boost into it at that point.
Oh yeah,
we were gonna go for broke there.
So they didn't go back out, and there was no reason for us to go back out, and so we ended up snagging the win there.
Not only did we win it, we won overall.
Yeah,
that's when we met Jeremy Lauder too.
Yep.
Who is kind of salty about that, and ended up being like our best track buddy.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother story.
But what a great guy.
So that brings us over to we get the car back to IAG. And these three events were in a matter of like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was like bam, 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 bam.
And so it was NJMP, and then I had 2 weeks to go over and make improvements to the car, and just I have a set list of things I wanted to get done between every race, and improvements and issues that we found with the car, and then it was off to Mid Ohio,
we knew was going to be a war.
Yeah,
everybody was gunning for Mid Ohio.
Mid Ohio was a war. We get to Mid Ohio, and I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never been to Mid Ohio, and so now with 2 wins under our belt, this is where the pirate stuff started. Because this is, I said, if we win Mid Ohio, what happens, right? And basically, looking at points, we were going to tie up for the championship.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, like, if we can pull off the win. And so that's where I sent you the meme of I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
And so we like,
he sent that over, and I'm like, we're pirates. And that's where literally people have tried to go like 5 degrees down to figure out this pirate meme. It was literally that stupid.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
It's so, and you know what? It's better because it's stupid.
Yeah. So we bought, like, I bought a pirate flag.
Yeah.
Uh,
We had a couple of pirate hats and shit.
yeah.
Like we had some small pirate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were.
But the pirate flag was the big one.
The pirate flag was big.
Yeah.
And so we got to Mid Ohio, got the car unloaded the night before, and believe it or not, like I can't sleep the first night we get there. I have a hard time. I'll go walk the track at 1 a.m. Like, I'm not even driving the car just to understand how the car's going to function, the stress points.
When did you figure out I had to puke?
Oh God, it wasn't It
had to have been Mid Ohio.
I figured out you had to puke at Mid Ohio.
Yeah.
But it didn't really affect us there.
Yeah, that's true.
So you had thrown up. That was the thing, was you had thrown up, and I was like, oh, that's when I realized that. I don't know if you threw up at. Yeah, you threw up at NJMP. So I guess I figured it out there, but I didn't really connect the two.
Yeah.
And that's also a funny story. But so we went out at Mid Ohio, and on the same boost, we hadn't turned it up yet.
No.
That
was still on the before we refreshed it.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that event was what caused it.
Yeah.
And so, well, I wouldn't say it caused it. I think Rev Up and Gingerman is what caused it.
Yeah, I think with that said, since Rev Up and the first two Gingerman events running on that old turbo,
it was just so much back pressure.
It was so much back pressure. We think we had already actually hurt the engine.
No, I know we did.
So the engine was not in great shape. And we did 2 events, including Mid Ohio, on essentially a hurt engine. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand how hurt that engine really was.
So we went out off the trailer and set a record.
Yeah, we immediately went under a 30.
And so we took the attitude from the end of NJMP and just kept going with it. And it was just me and you. Ian wasn't with us yet.
Yeah, and so the next day.
We both practice rounds, we went faster, one after the other, and we would fix a couple of issues, but the biggest thing was it was spraying oil out the catch cam at the top of 5th on the back straight.
Yeah, which is a lot of pressure. Like a lot's going on.
Sure.
We are banging down that straight.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And so we go out for the first round of qualifying, and there's a lot of strategy that goes on between Dewey and I. And so I was like, well, if we go out, tonight and it's not a fast time, we have tomorrow morning first thing, and then we'll just prep for podium sprint.
Yeah.
And so we went out, and we were feeling pretty good. Everything was great. He went out on his out lap, came around hauling ass. I'm like, oh man, hopefully we qualify number 1.
Yeah.
And went around turn 1, and we didn't have comms yet at the time.
Yes.
Or at that race. And I waited, and then the car that was behind you did a lap, and I was like, "Where's Dewey?" And it was like I didn't know what was going on. I'm like sitting there, I'm sweating because I don't know if the engine blew. I don't know if you crashed. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so you get towed back in, and there's just no power, no electrical power.
So basically, I go through turn 1, and I'm like, and the car just goes. And turns off. Straight up just turns off. Didn't know what it was at the time. We were freaking the hell out. So
it got towed in, and long story short on that, basically the power wire, which wasn't secured to anything, let me back up. The trunk fell out, kind of.
Yeah.
And the power wire had slipped under the aluminum trunk plate thing and chafed. And
one of the self-tapping screws just kept hitting it.
Yeah, and it chafed. Obviously, it grounded it out, and it fried the anti-gravity battery. So Ian, once we figured out the issue, Ian had drove through the night again to Mid Ohio.
Yes. I don't even think he was going to come.
No, he wasn't.
And then we told him what was up, and he's like, "Fuck it," and grabbed the battery, hopped in his car, and drove straight to Mid Ohio.
Yeah, Jackie even came out. So Jackie is one of the girls that work here in the office.
Yes.
She even drove out. She was just coming to check out the event, and she brought me some of my electrical tools. So I was like, "Well, we're probably not making first or second qualifying round first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. And so Ian and her, they showed up. Well, Ian showed up in the middle of the night, and I figured out, borrowing tools, what the issue was. And I think I started the car at like 10 p.m.
Yeah, you started up on the big backup battery just to fire it up.
Yeah,
just so everybody could hear it.
Well,
there were some people like really happy, and I'm not trying to like poke fun at anybody, but you could see there was actually some relief in some people thinking that maybe we were out.
Yeah.
And when that started up that night, there were some very disappointed individuals.
So the next morning, I got the new battery and got the warmed up, and we're like, all right, well, we need to go out and qualify. So we go out and qualify for second round.
Yep.
And we qualified first.
Yeah. We
were the number one,
but
qualifier.
We were still pushing oil.
We were pushing oil bad.
Yeah.
Actually, it had cracked the
windshield,
the bottom corner of the windshield, and so they were giving out 5-gallon buckets at Valvoline, and this transpired to us going over and telling the Valvoline girls thanks for the bucket like 20 times that weekend.
Yeah.
What I did was I put rags, like I duct taped rags hanging inside the bucket and made a lid with a vent. And I ran a hose from the catch can through the car and ratchet strapped the bucket to the cage in the back. And
that became the catch can. We used a 5-gallon bucket as a catch can.
What was crazy is it didn't fill up the catch can. And the only reason why I think it didn't was it just had more volume to breathe.
Yeah.
But the engine was hurt. And so we didn't need to go out for round 3 of qualifying. And a lot of people were like, why are you going out?
We had to test the bucket.
And so all I had told Dewey was like, hey, the only thing you need to do is go out on the back straight, do a pull on the back straight, go through the back straight, let's make sure this thing's good. And so that's all we did was you went out and tested
I just
the bucket.
went out there. I was out there to run a fairly fast lap just to make sure the bucket wasn't going to be a problem.
Faster.
I did. We reset the record again.
Yeah.
This is why everybody's like, every time you go out, you keep resetting the record.
Yeah. And so we went out for podium sprint, and again, we didn't have comms. So we were the last to go out, being the number one qualifier. And we had developed, me and you had talked, I mean, we were starting to get in the swings of things of what to do.
How to work with each other.
Yeah.
At this point, this is when we really started working like a team.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we came up with this idea that I would stand at the start-finish line and let you know if anyone ran faster than 129 flat.
Yep.
And so
if they didn't, you're going to throw me the X.
Yeah.
Basically, to just like, you don't have to run.
You could see your time.
Yes. I knew what I ran, but I need to know if they ran faster to know if I had to risk it.
A second lap.
Yes. Yeah.
So your first lap, you came around, and all I knew was Mike's time was the closest, and I think he ran like a 129.7.
Yeah.
And so I had walked out and gave you the X.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what you ran yet.
Yep.
I had no idea. And you went around on turn 1 and out of my sight, and I looked down, and I think you ran, oh gosh, it was like a 126 something. Like
it was a low 27.
Yeah.
And what bugs me to this day is it would have been 26s.
Yeah.
It was like, I know again, quoting my other favorite podcast, the Lizard Brain podcast, my Lizard Brain, everybody else was going nuts. They're like, oh my God, that time is fucking ridiculous. Like, that must have been the most perfect lap. And my Lizard Brain's going, that was a 26.
Yeah.
And now, so everybody knows, we turned it up a little bit there. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
And how the reason we immediately knew we turned it up because I was bouncing off a red line going into the end of the straight. I actually topped out fifth.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah. And then so we got the car back to the pit to cool down and kind of going through our cycle. And what we had developed, we had already won, and we still do this, and I don't think I would ever not do this, is we go over the car even after we won the race. Mm-hmm. So we got the car up in the air, slid under it, see where it was, and Ian and I both heard a noise, and so I had scheduled an engine refresh in between Mid-Ohio and Lime Rock, and so the travel time back to IAG and then up to Lime Rock, I think we had 5 days to get the engine out.
Yeah. So everybody's like, because we told everybody, like, this engine's got to come out. We didn't say we weren't going to Lime Rock. We just said the engine has to come out.
Yeah.
And like, so everybody assumed we weren't going to Lime Rock.
For a minute, I didn't think we were going to make it.
Yeah.
We had full intentions to go to Lime Rock, but obviously with the engine change. So I think Monday morning, I got the engine out and to the engine department, and those guys rocking.
You're skipping huge things.
Sorry.
Okay, so first off, there was a lot of hugging. It was great.
Oh yeah.
And then we went and hit a pirate flag.
We did. That's when that started.
Yes.
We left the pirate flag. I mean, we rolled around in a golf cart all night. I think that was the first time where I was like,
that was serious pirate energy.
Yeah, we could do whatever we want. We won.
Yeah.
You know, and within reason. I mean.
Yeah, we went pretty hard.
I don't think, you know, and the realistic is we tied up the championship that race.
Yeah.
And so we were actually, I mean, we celebrated a little bit at New Jersey, but we kind of really, I would say we let loose more than any other event.
Yeah.
At Mid Ohio.
We went pretty hard.
And it was a long, I mean, that was a hard race.
Yeah.
We went out and broke the record every single time.
To me, that felt like that was the everything was kind of building towards that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it was like this huge thing for us to get that. That was huge. For me, Mid Ohio was massive, especially after what happened to me at Mid Ohio the year before.
Correct.
And then to go out there and break that record, that happened to me.
Yeah. So after partying, I mean, we get the car in, and it was a long weekend of work. I mean, I didn't stop all weekend. I was averaging like 4 hours of sleep if I was lucky. And it was just, I mean, I was just anxious. I would go walk the track, or I wouldn't walk the track, but I would go around, check out corners, see how the track looked out when they were drying it the second morning.
Yep.
There was a lot of things. And I came back and I asked you the next time I see you throw up or whatever. And so, like I said, we got the car back, got the engine out, engine department rock and rolled, refreshed the head.
They killed it.
Oh man.
And it was a super short period of time they turned that around.
And not only that, but I had the engine back by the following Monday morning. We had to get it back on the dyno, retune.
We had to do a bunch of braking.
Oh yeah, I drove the car.
I know, I was with you.
Yeah,
I was following you.
Yeah, we went to Sheets.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's the ice cream thing.
Uh-huh.
So I drove it, broke the engine, and drove it up the Sheets. Like I think I put 50 miles on it.
Yeah, we put a decent. It was back and forth a few times.
Oh yeah, and so
realistically, I think we probably got over 100 on it.
Probably.
Yeah.
And so we packed the trailer that night because you stayed with me from Mid Ohio to you stayed at my house from Mid Ohio.
It was only like a week.
To Lime Rock.
Yeah.
No, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, I know. I remember staying though.
Yeah. And so we got the car up to Lime Rock, and we were excited because I don't think anyone really understood that we were going to Lime Rock.
No.
And we were just trying to be funny.
We got called some names.
Yeah.
We had a lot more pirate stuff with us this time.
We had a lot of pirate stuff. I think I bought like 4 or 5 flags.
Dude, we had hats, swords, eye patches. We were handing shit out to kids.
Yeah.
I think it was crazy.
Oh, yeah. We were waving out the window and stuff, sitting in line to get in that night.
Oh my God, that was funny.
My friends actually showed up from Maine. My 2 good friends, Andrew and
which are awesome cats.
Oh man, they're great guys.
Yep.
Andrew and Chris showed up, and I mean they cooked us food. Where can we help? I said I'll let you know, and they're like, no, we want to help. I said honestly, just feed us because we forget to eat.
Yeah.
At NJ&P, the only thing we ate besides that lunch was corn dogs. At Mid Ohio, I don't remember eating.
That was, I tell you what, that was the best breakfast I've ever had, and I got to taste it twice.
Yeah, you threw it up. I knew it was going to be a good day because you threw up. I was like, all right, cool, he threw up. Like, we're good to go. And, I mean, that's a thing. That is the thing. Because, and I'll get to it, but we got to Heartland, and the first morning at Heartland, we did not have a good time, and you didn't throw up.
Yep.
And I texted Fred. I said, Dewey didn't throw up today. We're not having a good one.
And bad shit happened.
Yeah, and so that's a thing. So Lime Rock in a short span was I mean, we were catching air up the hill, so the car was getting shooken down at every run.
Yeah.
It was
really worried about breaking axles.
It was stressful because if we could win Lime Rock, we would essentially take the lead in the championship.
We'd take the lead and we'd make it very hard. Not impossible, but very hard for anybody to beat us.
Yeah. So we were really gunning, and the next thing you know, James Houghton
fucking
I didn't even know. I knew he was running other cars. I didn't even know he was in our class.
He was in our class running something else, and he's starting to get this thing dialed in.
And so at this point, we have comms. We're working as a team. We had like things were starting to flow a lot better, and the next thing you know, it's like it wasn't a podium sprint weekend. It was just a club weekend.
It was supposed to be a podium sprint weekend, but they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it ended up turning into a club weekend the way it ran.
Yeah. And so next thing you know, James goes a 10th faster than you.
Yeah.
And you come across the line.
Well, do you remember how that whole session worked? So like we both go out, right? And something happens on the track and they black flag it and bring us all in. So I was gonna come off the track. And then I'm like, oh man, like, because James got within like half a second. And even JJ was saying, like, that's your problem. Like, that's the guy right there you need to be watching.
Yeah.
So, like, James got within like a half a second, and we were going to come in. And like, James still hadn't got around us. And then I see James is going to go back out, and we're sitting in the pits, and the tires are having enough time to cool. We should just let me go back out, see what I can do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, little open room on the track. Let's see what we can do. Not very many people are going back out. We go out. James beats us by a 10th.
Yeah.
And we come through right behind him.
I mean, right behind him. It was enough time for them to announce it.
Yeah.
And then here you go, and you were a 10th faster than him.
So Kyle on the announcer was just like, oh my God, James, like, he just went a little faster, reset the record and all this. And then, like, right as that's coming out of his mouth, I knocked that off the leaderboard.
Yeah. And so I think I told you to come in. I was like, come in. We need, like, I'm seeing what's going on. I was like, we need to go over the car. We are going to now battle it out. There's one session left today. I'm like, you need to get in. We need to go over the car.
Oh, this was so stressful.
It was probably the most stressful race.
It was.
In my book, it was the most stressful because the car was starting to have issues. The header wrap was coming apart.
James could beat us too.
We were touching the suspension because you were getting airborne every single lap. Like there was a lot going on, and it was so close that it was either going to make us or break us, and this really determined how the rest of the season went. And so James had came over and asked us how things were going in between sessions.
Yeah.
And me and Dewey had just watched Tombstone at my house like a few days before we went to Lime Rock.
Yeah.
So all we were doing all weekend is just quoting the movie. And so I looked at James and he was like, I was like, you guys turning it up? And he was like, oh yeah, we're fine with throwing a rod out the front of the block.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. All right, man, say when. And he just looks at me in the eye, and I don't think I could ever forget this for the rest of my life. And he just looked at me and goes, when? And I'm like, all right, man, we're good. And I got back into the car, and I'm like,
yeah, I hear this, and I'm immediately hitting Graham up like, no, he's not screwing around.
No,
like,
they weren't. They were not.
He is not screwing around. If we're within a 10th, he's going crazy. We got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Or we got to throw it all at it.
Correct. And so we went out, and then we both went out.
Yeah.
We sent you out. We turned it up. They turned it up. You both went out, and I mean, I was standing. I was pacing in the hot pits.
I never cleared that straightaway that fast on the outlap. Like, did I tell you with the speed
No.
It was nuts. We had 155 by the end of that straight.
Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy. So to give you context, a club TR car hits maybe 110 there. We hit 155 by the end of that straight.
That's not slow.
No, it's stupid. That's the fastest that car's ever been.
Right. And so you came down the hill to go on the last turn to come down the straight, and you had issues, and you came over the radio, and it was very hard to hear what you were saying, but you would come in and like the car's breaking up,
Yeah.
And I was like, you had pulled into the hot pit, and I was like, well, let's see what he does. And he comes around, and he doesn't go nearly as fast again.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know, go out, keep the tires warm, like
just in case.
Like, see what we have to do, and if not, we'll send it. So you go out back the pack, and he comes across again, and I'm radioing you the times that he's running, and he doesn't end up going faster.
No.
And so he gets in, we get in, we're like, thank God, because there's something wrong with the car.
Yeah, we could not have run.
And that was it for us. Like that was the last minute. He came over and he said they were having issues with the car too.
So we both turned it up, and both of us had issues.
Correct. And
what's really funny is when we found out what it was.
All right, so this was funny after the fact.
Yeah.
And again, things happen.
We're all learning.
Can we? I want to go back onto something. So Dewey throughout the season, whenever he decides to work on the car or had to do something, he would text me and say, "Well,
mistakes were made.
Decisions were made. Decisions were made, and things happened."
Yeah.
And so that usually meant that I had to fix something. Well, we get the car back to the shop, and I think it's like Tuesday night. I haven't touched the car yet, and I'm talking to Fred, and I'm like, I don't know, there's something like, oh, that's what it was. Pat wanted to bring the car to a car show at the local Subaru dealership. I'm like, yeah, it's just running rough. I'd rather push it. And so we get it on the trailer. We pushed it, strapped it down, and we're at the pub. It's like a week later. It's Friday night. We're at the pub. And the wins haven't, honestly, still to this day, like all the wins that we, like even the championship, like
what it kind of hit me?
It hasn't
took those pictures.
Yeah, kind of. I haven't.
That was a stack of true.
I haven't posted them. It still hasn't hit me. It's because again, it's my first season, and so I'm like, I'm learning a lot. I'm listening to all the mentors I have around me, all these guys that I have been privileged to meet.
Yeah, these guys around here are incredible.
Yeah, and even people in Gridlife, just it's been a wild ride for me. And so we get the car back. I'm sitting at the pub, which is nice. It's placed next door to IAG.
Yeah.
So we'd go over there on Friday night, have a beer or two. And Fred's like, oh, I know what the issue is. You ran it out of fuel. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. So I go get 5 gallons of fuel, put it in the back of the car. It's on the trailer. It's cold out. Or I wouldn't say it's cold out. But it's on the back of the car. Yeah. And I go start it up and it runs fine. And I'm like, damn it, dude. The whole entire issue of us at Lime Rock in that last session was there wasn't enough fuel in the car.
Yep.
And so and
it's even more exasperated at Lime Rock because
there's only
it's all right-hand corners.
Right. And so we learned that lesson because it's not a fuel cell, it's still the factory tank, so it has a saddle. And I don't know if we just forgot or I think we were like, no, we're good. Like,
I think we were trying to calculate it to like we could run 1 or 2 good laps and what's in there.
Yeah,
and
we stopped doing that after that.
Yeah,
we just filled the car up after that.
Yeah, that was
our lesson.
Yep.
And thankfully, James wasn't able to capitalize on that because he's a super fast driver and he was not going slow. And so we get the car home. I make a new front splitter. We ditch the plywood splitter finally. I convinced you to ditch it.
Oh boy, man. We did some good work on that plywood splitter.
No, I'm not saying it didn't work.
She was a unit.
Yeah.
I actually fought. I fought pretty hard.
Yeah.
I was like, we need to just do plywood again.
We argued a few times.
Yep.
And so finally I was like, well, I'm just going to make one out of Alumilite and we'll keep the plywood splitter. And if you don't like the Alumilite, I'll let you run the plywood. But I have a feeling you're going to like the
Secretly, he wasn't going to let me run that.
No, I wasn't. I'd already salvaged parts off the old
it was
like
gone.
It was dead. So we spent a ton of time building a new splitter and like we have the technology and the tooling here to do pretty crazy things. And so I think I spent like a week on the splitter.
Yeah.
And just measuring it because I was like, if we can have 5 inches, like I'm gonna get
all of it.
I'm gonna get 4 7/8.
Yes.
Like everywhere on wherever you measure on the front bumper, I want 4 7/8. Like I wanted to take pride on. I don't ever want to cheat. I don't even want to come close to cheating. Like I want to win with taking pride within the rules. And so
legally winning.
Yeah. and so it is. If you go measure that splitter on the front of the car anywhere, it's 4 7/8.
Yep.
And I mean, we 3D scanned it. Like, it is CNC cut. Like,
Yep.
not CNC cut, water
jetted.
But man, we spent so much time, and then so I got looking. And I read the rules, and I was like, well, technically, we can't. Like, there was no way I was putting canards on your front bumper. Like, they were going to come off. So we came up with this idea to run these little fire deflectors, and it was just a theory as if they would work or not. And we brought the car to
Fred designed those, didn't he?
Correct.
Dude, he did a killer job. Like, if you guys look at those crazy things that are on the front of the car now, that was a Fred design.
He walked away. I was like mounting stuff, and from him designing to them being cut out of the laser and bent was like an hour and a half.
And they're incredible.
Yeah, and we can just make more of them.
Yeah.
And so we were just spraying like out of the air hose, like hose is at the front of the splitter, and the air was hitting it and getting to the top of the tire.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we'll see it. Worst case, I unbolt them.
Yeah.
So we got to Kansas with the car, and that was a haul. And Kansas was really cool. I mean, there's nothing in Topeka.
There's nothing in Topeka, Kansas.
There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
That was a good weekend. There was a lot less stress for us because we didn't have to win, but in order for us to mathematically lock up the championship, we had to win. And so that would mean if we won at Kansas, we could go to Laguna and just go have fun.
Yep.
And so we treated Kansas as we needed to win it. Through every single event, I was like, dude, we won 2 in a row. We're not winning a third one.
Yeah.
Like, we won 3 in a row, but there's no way
we're winning a fourth.
And I'm like, if we win 5 in a row, like, I don't know. Like, I don't see it happening. And Kansas was not easy. The first morning at Kansas, you did not throw up.
No, I didn't feel right in the car. Nothing was right.
Nothing was right. The car was hopping.
Bad.
Yeah, and that, I'm not giving away that secret.
Yeah.
That is I'm sorry, but that's my secret.
That's fine. But the car was bouncing like hell.
Yeah, and you drove through it, and what ended up happening was the rear diff bolts snapped, bent the like cradle of the front of the diff where the drive shaft comes through.
Yeah.
And we had to go to Ace Hardware.
It twisted so hard that it snapped an axle.
Oh yeah, also
it snapped an axle. So when that happened, it was bad. It was big violent.
Yeah, and so we were like, shit. We were in the lead, but Kyle McHugh wasn't far off.
Kyle was coming, and we had a lot of time left out there.
And so I went to Ace Hardware, found like some brass bushings. That, just
because we lost a bunch of the hardware out of this thing too. That was really specific for that.
We also lost your up pipe out on the track, or your dump tube for your wastegout out on the track.
I can't believe I managed to find that.
Yeah, well, I think Spaz was like, I saw it on the last corner. I almost hit it at the end of the track, and I think you went out and grabbed it. So yeah, that was interesting, and so we fixed all that and got through. Spaz is getting ready to type that. He almost hit it.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, he almost hit it.
Oh yeah, it's chilling on the front straight. An inch and a half off the racing line. It literally was. It was like in the worst possible spot.
Yeah, sorry. That I will totally take fault on that one. I'm not really sure what happened, but I will take the fault on that one. So we ended up we walked the track that night, and the next morning I made sure you threw up. Your wife was there. I was like, he has to throw up. I don't know. I got to give him breakfast. I think at one point I'm like, you're not getting in the car until you go throw up. No, we're not going on track until you throw up. And that race ended up being really good. We didn't turn the car. We didn't have to turn the car up. We didn't turn the car up.
Nope.
It was a nice, easy race.
We got a little. That was probably the easiest one that we had by probably a long shot.
Correct.
And then so we went out there, ran a little bit faster, but it gave us enough of a buffer that we really didn't have to worry about it. Unfortunately, Kyle, he needed meth and couldn't find any. He unfortunately wasn't able to go any faster either, and he was really the only threat.
Right. Yeah. And he was. I think that was the first time I really got to hang out and talk to Kyle.
He's such a nice dude.
Oh, super awesome.
Just a great guy.
Yeah, super awesome. And because again, this was my first season, kind of being around the paddock and helping out. And then so from there, I gave you the car
Yeah, I drove it back to.
And I came back home without the car for the first time all season.
We didn't really. We had some stuff we had to do, but we were going to do it in the parking lot
at Laguna,
which added a bunch of stress to that too.
Yeah,
so either way, I went home. I went and did a car show.
You did?
Yeah, I went and did a car show with it just because it was right down the road. And I'm like, screw it, I'm taking the car to do a car show. Then I drug that thing all the way to fucking Laguna.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I slept at the second night we were there. So I've slept under the bleachers in my hammock at Heartland.
Yeah.
It's the bleachers.
Yeah.
And then I brought my hammock. It was like I flew to Laguna, so I could only bring so much.
Yeah.
And so I brought my hammock, and I slept at the top of the corkscrew in a small group of trees. And if anybody goes to Laguna this year, I promise you, just bring a hammock and a blanket. Depending on what time it is in the year, it's gonna be a little cold in the morning. And I will hit me up. I'll point it out where you can go hammock, but the sunrise is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is great. I woke up and I mean I felt great about that day, and
we had a bunch of stuff we still had to do on the car.
Well, that was the second morning.
Yeah.
I kind of jumped. When we got there, and I had to rebuild 2 axles. I had to fix the something else. I mean, it was a list of
It was
stuff.
a whole list of shit we had to do.
And so we did all that night, and in the dark. Like I had one light. It was very frustrating, and I wish I'd known the next morning was going to be so foggy.
Yeah, because we had all the time. Like half the day was gone due to fog.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it would have been so chill.
So either way, we got it done. It was a late night. I don't think I ate dinner that night, or maybe I did. I don't remember. Either way, it doesn't matter. We went and walked the track. We walked the track in the fog.
So in the middle of the night in the fog, we could barely walk through the track. I don't really know how much it really helped, but it was entertaining.
I think we were just so excited to be at Laguna Seca that it didn't matter. And so the next morning, when we finally got to go out, we were cooking.
Yeah.
We were going good.
We laid some fucking times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had it on the Low Boost map just to get you used to it. And we wanted to win.
We wanted to win, but I went to that event with a slightly different motivation. What I wanted to do is go to that event. I had a particular time that I wanted to beat.
Yes.
Okay. By a certain super driver that annoyed the living shit out of me. I wanted to beat that, and I wanted to set a record over there that would be very hard for somebody just to show up and beat.
Correct.
Unfortunately, I don't think we quite got to the second one, but the first goal we definitely did. But the whole concept was records or rods.
Yeah,
we got both.
My mindset was not records or rods. My
it's his job to reel me in, but that was where my brain was. Yeah. He keeps this in check.
And so the next morning we went out, and I was like, well, the first session, I was like, this is going to be it for our time. And we had some suspension issues, and I got some really great advice from Mike Kojima.
Having Mike Kojima there.
I mean, you just get to listen.
Yeah.
He will teach you stuff without you realizing it.
That man just spills information out of him that it's incredible.
Yeah.
He's totally a hero of mine, and him being excited to be working with us is incredible. Still to me, like I can't put it into words how amazing that is.
Yeah. And so we got the suspension squared away, and so on the first day of the last session, the suspension was doing some weird shit, and you were smoking coming up the back hill. And so the next morning, stood at the top of that hill to get video of you going up it, and it was great. You were not smoking whatsoever. And I was like, sweet, and you're humming up that hill. I was like, cool, I'm watching the times, and you come up the hill, and I'm watching. From the top of the hill where I was standing, I could see the front straight into turn one. And next thing you know, I see you come off. You're over the radio like fire.
Yeah.
Or no, something's wrong. And I see you go into turn one. And I'm yelling over the radio, fire, pull the fire suppression, calm down. I'm just like talking you through it, just like stay calm, pull the fire suppression, like get out of the car, make sure you're good. Like we'll fix it. Just get out of the car, pull fire suppression. And I'm riding the Grom down the hill watching the car on fire.
Yeah.
Granted, you're standing there watching the car on fire, but it was like...
What killed me more than anything is the dude who showed up, the first vehicle that got there. Like, the car is burning in the front, and the guy is just leisurely walking up to him.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, man? I don't like calling out situations like that, but, like, if somebody's off the side and there's smoke, you need to move with some speed. And that's one thing one of the safety guys is in here from...
No.
Would have moved with some immediacy.
In honestly, and we just put and so you pulled the fire suppression, and they came over and they got the car out. Luckily, it did take some damage, but we got it back over the pit, and we just started cleaning it up.
Yeah,
we were done. Like
I was not. So first off, let me explain what happened. I've been having some issues with ABS, and it got me really flustered. Okay. And I finally get this thing to run what seemed like a decent lap, and then the ABS problem came back going up into the corkscrew again. Mm-hmm. So what was happening is the car was lifting off the ground and freaking ABS out. There'd be a massive mismatch in wheel speed and it'd throw an ABS light. Something I'd really like to fix in the off season or soonish, but it's just, unfortunately, that one spot caused problems. So either way, I get through the corkscrew, but I throw an ABS light again. And I know I'm going to be losing a ton of time. So I'm trying to haul ass, and I literally going through, like, I don't know, people call it like the toilet bowl or whatever. It's the really long left-hander after the corkscrew. Mm-hmm. I'm going through there, and I literally forget what gear I'm in, and I put it in the wrong gear. And man, I tell you what, those IAG carbon synchros, they fucking work, boy. It just slid right in, and the engine saw 12,000.
It was just shy of a couple.
11, 9, 8, 2 or something like. It was seriously basically 12,000 RPM, and
it didn't go there.
And it what did it was the instant shock of the. I think the engine, if I could probably have revved it nice up to 12,000 RPM, we'd still be talking about how great this engine is.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it happened immediately, and it glid right in, and it got all of that 12K, and the engine was fine. I'm like I tried to catch it as fast as I could, and the engine was still running fine. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this lap and go in. Well, as I went through start-finish line, most of the time when a Subaru engine goes, it'll be like, and then like you'll get it, it'll throw a rod. You know, you'll hear it. This was, boom, and it just instant.
I could hear it at the top of the hill.
It was an instant explosion. Yeah. So what we think happened, we haven't torn it apart yet, so we really don't know. But I probably stretched a rod bolt, and it just came apart.
Yeah,
or compromised it with that misshift, and it happened right after the misshift. That's really what happened. Yeah. It was my fault that engine died.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we got the car back to the pit, and we cleaned it up because it had fire extinguisher dust all over it, and honestly, it
looked a lot worse than it.
Well, we had already won the championship.
Yeah,
and you were super upset. You went to bed. You were like laying down, and we'd bought a boom box at Heartland. We went and bought like because I mean, if Dewey's not loud enough, our music needs to be louder.
Yes.
And so we went and bought a boombox, and I had the boombox out at Laguna, and I played We Don't Need No Water from Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah.
And then it was just like anything fire related, I would play. Ring of Fire from
Yeah.
Johnny Cash. Like I was just like, man, this really sucks.
Yeah.
Because we were having such a great time up until that moment. And I think I went and came and got you, and I was like, dude, let's just go like hang out and enjoy the event. Like we never get to enjoy it.
I needed a couple hours to just unwind from it.
Yeah, we got the car cleaned up, walked around, and we have never gotten to enjoy any of the events. We've been, usually working on the car or like dealing with stressful things or whatnot. Like it has been the season was a lot of work up until that point.
Yeah.
And so we did. We went and walked around and bought a pair of sunglasses, got to hang out with some people.
Yep. Had a fucking hour-long conversation with Rob Dom over by his car.
Yeah.
We had some great time.
Dom. And then we noticed that the Fortners were close to winning.
Yes.
And it was just like, they had said to us at Lime Rock, if they ever beat us, they were going to wear the Royal Navy costumes.
Yeah.
Because we were pirates. And
they technically beat us.
Yeah, so I'm expecting to see them.
They're going to be quicker next year. It was really great for Cal to get his first win there. And in between, I'm not trying to be that guy.
Yeah.
I was really happy it was one of us that won it. And not like, I really didn't want a non-Gridlife competitor coming into Gridlife from the West Coast winning it.
Yeah.
So Cal held it down for Gridlife, and we carried him to the podium. It was great, and it was weird. It was awesome seeing Cal win that.
Well, yeah, and so his parents had told me that like Laguna was growing up on the sim. Like Laguna was his favorite track.
Yeah,
and so it was like I told him, I said, whatever you need like for you guys to win, like let me know. Like I will help you guys.
We went hard for them.
Yeah, and it was really awesome to see someone else. I mean, to see someone else win, it was amazing to see them win.
Jeremy Bailey also.
Yeah,
Jeremy Bailey came with, this is an FA20 BRZ, so a slow BRZ, came within 1/10 of the podium. I felt, dude, he gave everything he could.
Well, we were stripping everything we could. His car's already gutted.
And we found more weight.
And I was like, well, you don't need that bolt. You don't need that bolt.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not working on your car.
Yep.
We're working on
We're on that now.
Yeah. We're losing this, losing that. You don't need that. Oh, why is this in here?
Yep.
And so that was really great to see. It was really good to watch everyone else race that event. And
that was fun. We got to be, after the crazy season we had, we got the record.
Yep.
Okay, so we ended up getting that record, and we could sit back and like enjoy being a part of that community for the rest of that. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so it was, and there's so much.
Sucked.
I flew home.
Yeah.
But what was the cool thing was I caught a red eye. Well, this is, I want to write this up. There's a lot of things that I'm like kind of like hesitant because I don't know if they count.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, or
they count.
So we got done racing, and I left the track at 6:30 and drove back to San Fran, dropped off the rental car, got an Uber to the airport, flew the red eye from San Fran to Baltimore, got to the airport in Baltimore, picked up my car, drove straight back to IAG and met up with Fred and Tyler, and we towed the drag car to the local drag track to do some testing before World Cup final. So essentially, I got to support a car on the West Coast and the East Coast in the same weekend.
It's basically the same day.
It might as well.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
So Saturday I was in California at Laguna Seca, and then Sunday I was at good old Mason-Dixon Dragway in Maryland, and man, that was a rough weekend. That was a hard weekend, but I haven't, like, there's so much from this season that I haven't posted or haven't caught up, and I have all the stuff in my brain, and even sitting here talking about it, man, what about this time? And so
so what's your favorite? What is your favorite part of the season? Like, what is your favorite moment? What was your favorite event? Let's start with that.
My favorite moment, we had won at Heartland and locked up the championship, and I laid under the tree that was next to where we'd pitted, and I stared at the leaves glimmering in the sun. And it sounds really cliche, but it was just like it was like a euphoric moment.
Yeah.
It was very personal that we actually pulled it off. I mean, we won, and we went from joking about winning the championship at Midwest Fest after we won one race.
Yeah, we We're like, dude, it's a thing now, you know?
Yeah, I had very little experience with any
Yeah,
of this.
dude.
And I'm like, oh, well, we can win a championship. And then laying under that tree, you came and laid with me.
Yeah, we
And
were sitting there
we
chilling.
just laid under the tree for like 20 minutes. Like, holy crap, we pulled it off. I think that's probably the most memorable moment of the whole season, as cliche as it sounds. Some of the other big moments of the season, honestly, it was just sharing. I mean, my friends come into Gridlife at
That was super cool.
Yeah, at Lime Rock. That was. I mean, Andrew is a huge fan, and he's a huge racing fan in general.
Yeah.
And so him coming there and see him, I'm like, dude, just trust me. Come check this out. He'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
And they just hung out, cooked food, helped where they could. Like,
yeah.
Hell, I'd be like, hey, rotate those tires.
They were on it, dude.
Oh yeah, they were great. They had a great time. I mean, Chris cooked some great food. I mean,
there's even some stories that we really shouldn't talk about, but
yeah,
they almost had to knock somebody out. They almost got old Main Boy about it.
Yeah,
those
are some good old boys.
Yeah, there were some good old boys. They were great guys, though.
Yeah, they're from the sticks.
I think my favorite moment was Mid-Ohio when we got the Spirit of the Event award.
That was awesome.
Because what that felt like was everybody else recognized how hard we were going.
Yeah.
At that point. And to me, that was insane. Like, because it's one thing when you're doing it and you're trying your ass off, but when other people when they finally recognize what you're doing, it means a lot, especially when it's like your peers like that. And they're like, Gridlife's like my family, you know what I mean? And it's really awesome when your family is like, hey, you're really killing it here. And it was awesome that they recognized all of us. We're all up there and we got that trophy. That was so sick.
That was, well, because I mean, it's totally different. You
and then
win.
Randy had to
yeah, Randy had to, well, because the shoey that I pulled off, I'm looking at a shotgun. Like I can stick my fingers through the radiator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, if we manage to win this event,
he said it as a joke, and he dead drank.
Like
Randy was stupid enough to be like, "You guys went 3 in a row. I'll do it." Okay, Randy.
But no, to win, you're getting a trophy.
Yeah.
I won, and the anticipation's pretty sweet. But then to get Spirit of the Weekend award, you have no idea who's getting that or anybody's getting it.
And that's the community basically choosing that.
Yeah, and then so to go back on that, to go back to Lime Rock, we rewind to Lime Rock and look at Jeremy Lauder.
Yes, Pirate Energy king.
Dude. And so he's pitted right next to us.
He's got a ZL1. He's just a one-man crew in the ZL1.
Oh, yeah,
what a boss.
He's just having a great time.
He got 3rd in Unlimited for the season.
Yep.
No, sorry, second for Unlimited.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah.
It was close for him.
Yeah.
He was looking at potentially first.
He was getting in there.
Yeah. So at Lime Rock, he crashed, and the driver's side of his car was.
Dude, we were trying to figure out how are we going to get this thing on the trailer.
Yeah.
And his brain's going, I'm just going to overnight a bunch of parts and get this thing. And we're like, okay, dude. All night long, that guy was smacking that thing with a hammer.
Dude, his fender, like, I wish I had a before. I have an after picture.
Yeah.
I don't have a before picture. But, I mean, the crash was bad enough that his splitter broke, his front bumper's messed up. The fender is absolutely destroyed. His lower control arms in the front are gone. Like, the door doesn't even latch shut anymore.
It was bad. It was like, a hard hit.
I thought the car was totaled.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, it's spitting up coolant. Like, I'm like, dude, you're done. And we were sitting there, like, they're pulling it off the tow truck. And I'm like, how are we about to get this in this guy's trailer?
We're worried about trying to help this old boy get this in the trailer because we just feel so bad for him.
Yeah, and he's like, nah, I'm just going to put it right there. Dude, he all night pounded that fender. It looked like a smooth golf ball.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could put it. But it still had the shape of the fender. And I'm like, how did you even pull this off? And dude, he went to the dealership the next morning, picked up parts, showed up, put his car back together, and then raced. And we're like, dude, this guy's got to get that award.
Well, and we made sure. We went and told, we're like, look, there's never been a more Spirit of the Weekend than what this guy pulled off.
Yeah, like that was, like, I was in shock. I'm like, dude, I would have been crying. Your ZL1.
Yeah, he is straight up honorary hardcore pirate.
Yeah.
Like,
and he showed up to Heartland with his Corvette.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man.
It's like it's in the body shop. And then he showed up to Laguna.
And it was Mint.
Mint, Carl looked great.
Whoever his body guy is.
Dude's for real, man.
Yeah. So that was another great moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many more, but unfortunately, we don't have all night to talk about them.
No, but it was super cool. Like, not only did we stick a Subaru on top, we actually went 1-2 with Subarus. Like, we didn't, but like Tournament Concepts with Mike, they did a really great job of getting Mike up there. So it was great for the Subaru community. Like, that really showed up.
Oh,
and then Street was also won by Joe Melky. He's got another Subaru, a bunch of IAG parts, killing it. I'm not Dana technically is a Subaru, but he's got a Honda K series motor under it. We're gonna fix that next year with Jeremy. Jeremy's got an FA20 now.
Yeah.
So, well, it was a hell of a season, my guy. We did some shit, didn't we?
Yeah, it still hasn't hit me.
It kind of did when we sat in a sea of trophies.
Yeah. I had to go have dinner with this girl I started seeing with her parents for the first time ever. I'm telling Dewey about it, and he was like, dude, just bring the championship trophy to dinner.
That's what I was like, dude, just bring the ship trophy with you. Like, you can't lose then. You can't lose. You got a championship trophy. You gotta flex where you got it,
Yeah. It was, for my first season into racing and getting a taste of it, I had a lot in getting immersed in it. And I gotta be completely honest, like, when I got here, road racing was not like my thing.
No.
And now I don't see myself doing anything else.
I got to be real. Like, time attack and road racing, it's been a few rough years. A lot of effort with varying results.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm not trying to, like, make that a thing. You know what I mean?
No.
So it was a lot of effort for varying results. And it was, the enthusiasm for it had waned a lot here.
Yeah.
And now, like, people are really pumped.
It was really, we would come back after winning. And past there's like 85 people that work at the shop.
Yeah, this is a big place, and they were, dude, people I'd never even met before were trying to like, hey, can we help?
Yeah, we would pass around the trophy.
Yeah,
and like it was
a team effort.
Oh man,
especially like the way those guys in the engine room, like,
oh yeah,
that sort of shit.
There's a pirate flag hanging in the headroom.
Yes, like the pirate energy was real.
Yeah. So
before you yell at me, we are working on the t-shirt problem. I'm having conversations with the powers that be about that. Sorry about the delay, but those will be available soon. Other than that, this is a hell of a fucking season. I don't know what next year's going to be. I don't know how anything could top that.
Yeah.
I know what the goals that I have are, and we're going to try like hell to do that. But there's some big things maybe coming, not next year, but the year after.
Yeah.
I can't really talk too much about it, but man, some stuff, if it pans out,
will be crazy.
It will be nuts.
Yeah, it will be crazy. There's a lot of work to be done. I mean, the car's still blown up, still caught fire.
Yeah, we still got a lot. The car's got to go under the knife really hard in the off season, and that's why I'm physically here at IAG right now. So, yes, more Cool Ranch Doritos. Safety Mike always gets me Cool Ranch Doritos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's thrown them in the car when I'm about to go out on the track. Like, here, have some chips. I'm like, where am I going to put these?
I think I know who he is because he was talking to you before.
Yeah.
Before you went out, and
Safety
again,
Mike's
that was like my first time.
Yeah.
That was my first time at Gingerman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
nobody goes to Gingerman unless they're like have a reason. Gingerman is not a destination track, or it hasn't been until recently.
Yeah.
So that's not something you've played in Gran Turismo.
No, and it was wild to see because Warranty brought me for a track walk that night after we won, and I had no idea how many people were there for the music. Like, I didn't know.
You didn't have a chance to go out there.
No, and so my time there was literally show up, fix radiator, win race, and then get ready to get some sleep to go back home, to go back to work. And so we walked the track at like 2 a.m. and people were still partying. I didn't know 2 a.m. two-step was a thing.
Yeah.
it was mind blowing to see the amount of people from the left side all the way. It was like just people all the way around the track.
30,000 people, dude.
It was crazy.
It's nuts. At this farm track in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, middle of nowhere. I found a great breakfast spot outside of that place, by the way.
So, unless you guys got any questions, you got about 15 seconds to type something in, and then I got to end it here because we still got stuff to do. Tomorrow we've got the Christmas party.
We do.
And then I've got to drive back. Something.
Do you have a Christmas special idea podcast for next week? Because
I think what I want to talk about next week is how hard it is to buy gifts for a car person, and like what makes that such a pain in the ass. It's like there's like car people just in general, even if you're not buying them car parts, generally tend to be the worst possible people to buy shit for.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
I don't understand why.
Another car guy or another car person can buy gifts for a car person. Like I know things I could buy you that you would like, you love, and it has nothing to do with your actual vehicle.
No, I just bought a Bob Ross air freshener. Yeah, sweet.
Well, I mean, like those like track cutouts on the wall.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are sick. Like I've got a bunch of ideas, and then stuff that we make that are easy ideas. If like you need to like drop grandma a link, like there's options for that too. But stuff but it's hard. Yeah, and that'll be kind of a Christmas special, and it'll be. I think we're gonna make that one pretty open if people want to chime in and chat and ask questions. So, any questions you guys got? We're down right now. Blinkers on M34 in Bangor. Yeah, I think that place is really good. I've been there before, I think. Yeah, because people don't know what we're talking about when we describe the part. That's what Jordan's saying. Yeah, but that's if you're asking for a car part. It's hard because non-car people don't understand what makes a car person tick.
You know what's really funny is when I meet people and they're like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I work on cars. And then I start to elaborate, and you can watch. It took me a long time to see it happen
when they just
notice it. And they're like, I will, over the simplest things will blow their mind. And it's crazy for someone like me to realize that people don't understand some of that stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess, I mean, that's a fair point.
Yep. There's a lot to it. So, all right. I think we're going to call it, folks. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Kyle, appreciate it. You're a hell of a dude. Kept us honest. Love seeing you, man. Hope you've got big things coming next year. I really want to see you up there causing trouble. I think Cal's going to be quite a bit faster.
Oh, yeah.
We both know Mike ain't going to be sitting on his hands.
Nope.
Super K might be back. Like, next year's going to be nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Next year's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
So it's going to be crazy. We're not standing still by no means, you know. So, that's what I like to see, dude. All right. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We will see you guys next week. Yeah, we'll see you then. Hopefully, we've got new equipment coming here soon. Not only are we going to be able to have intro and outro music, which is going to be sweet.
I really want my own horn.
We're getting DJ horns. We're getting all sorts of fun stuff. We might have a voice changer in it.
Yeah.
Like, it can start getting real good.
We should get like a flyby of you. For either the intro or the outro.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah. I think that would be a good sound.
Come up with something. I should write you an intro. Yes, dude. Heavy Metal WRX would be totally down. You wanna do a riff for us? That'd be sick, dude. Yeah. That would be sick. I'm really into 80s hair metal, so I want it to be like I want extreme. Do you want to play like that vibe? That would be freaking baller. So if you're down with that, I am definitely down with that. And if you truly are a metalhead, you know what I'm talking about. The song that they played in Bill and Ted when they were running around the ball. Yeah, that's great. I'm showing my age. All right, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I'll see you next week.